everybody. Welcome back.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another Rework It. How are you guys? It's good to see a lot of familiar faces in the chat. I see Tim helping out. Good to see you, Tim. Steve, Mark, Dorina, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, make sure that you say hi to us in the chat. If you're watching from YouTube, make sure that you head over into behance.net/live, sign in with your Adobe ID, and let us know how you're doing in the chat. How are you, Kladi?
Very good,
I
thank
was going to say
you.
good. I was going to say good morning, but it's not morning for you. It's 7 a.m. for me, or 8 a.m., excuse me, for me. And what time is it for you?
It's 4 p.m. here in the UK. So as you know, we are streaming from different locations. Jesús is in San Francisco in the Bay Area, and I am in Manchester, UK. And I just want to say a quick hello to the amazing people in the chat. I can see Andreas, team, how's it going? Emma, Michelle, Dorina, Sylvia, Karen. Oh, Karen Lewis is here. I'm going to host Karen on the 16th, 17th, and 18th. I believe, Karen, if I got the wrong dates, please correct me. But otherwise, stay tuned because, as you know, Adobe Live is full of fun. And today, you can see just below us or the other schedule that we follow up to the day. But on these amazing days with Karen, we're going to be talking about graphic design, and it's going to be super fun. I look forward to host you, Karen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I don't know if you mentioned it, Kladi, but let us know where you're watching from. As you said, you're in Manchester. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we always like to know where people are watching. Before we start, I would like to mention the Rework It page where you can submit your work for us to rework it. You can go into iamkladi.com/rework it. From this page, you'll see this button here that says submit your work. Make sure that you click on that and give us your email, upload your file, your name, your Behance profile, very important, data consent, and let us know which apps you've used. You may have used more apps than this, and that's okay. You can just check the box on these and let us know if you have any specific questions on the file that you submit. Make sure that you submit your InDesign files, Illustrator files, and of course, your Photoshop files. So click on the submit button when you do all of that, and hopefully your work could be featured here on Rework It. Once again, the link is iamkladi.com/rework it. And thank you, Tim, for posting it in the chat. You can just click on it directly from the chat if you like, and might as well submit it now because you might have an opportunity to be featured next time.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Steve. Ciao. Nice to see you. Sorry, I keep seeing the chat very active today. I'm very happy to see that. And what should we do? Should we start with InDesign today? I think that I gave like a slight promise yesterday that was going to be the first thing to do.
Yeah, so what we're going to do today, everyone, is we're going to start with a tiny little bit of InDesign. We're going to move into Photoshop, and then we're going to come back to Illustrator.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to start with Dorina, which is here in the chat. And before we open the file, and I'm going to show, of course, Dorina Behance page, I wanted to mention that Dorina was messaging me on my Instagram, and she was saying, let me just jump into my screen so we can have a little look. And if you do want to also get in touch with me on my Instagram, feel free to do so. My Instagram is @IamKladi. And Jesús, which is your Instagram tag? JR from PTC? Is that correct?
@JR from PTC, and also @Photoshop Training Channel. But one is obviously more personal. The other one's more about the Photoshop Training Channel.
Fantastic. So that's a way to get in touch with me. And Dorina, which it's right here, that's her page. We were chatting on InDesign file because she was having some issues with the images. So I told her, why don't you share it over and we can have a quick look in InDesign so we can actually see and share with everybody your concerns, because I'm sure that they are very common, because that's what I always say. We're here to learn. It's a safe space. We're all learning. I learn a ton from you and from reworking your files. So thank you so much for getting us the chance to edit the file live. So go ahead and give it a follow to Dorina. She also follows all the creative challenges, which brings me to give you a little bit of a preview, because today I was preparing our next Illustrator challenge, and I look forward to be with you in March, on the 1st of March, with the next 2 weeks of Illustrator challenge. But let's jump into InDesign and have a look at this lovely work from Dorina. First and foremost, I'm gonna have to like ring the bell here, a little alarm bell, because as you can see, we have all these little question marks next to the images. Now, I presume that the language is Russian. I don't know, Dorina, let us know in the chat. I know you're watching, so please correct me right away, because I don't want to say something that I don't know. So it's definitely not a Roman alphabet, but it doesn't matter. That's the beauty of the file. What we're looking here is the structure of the layout, and what I wanted to bring your attention to are those little red circles with the question mark, and here they are. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it, and perhaps I'm going to show it on the other page as well, so we don't have a red background, so it's going to stick out a little more. Here it is, this tiny little alarm bell. What that means is that...
It's Bulgarian, by the way.
Oh, Bulgarian. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And how many people from Bulgaria? Emma, are you from Bulgaria as well? Because I can see you also got the right language as well. So as I mentioned, the first alarm bell was regarding the images. In order to have a very neat workflow, and especially when you're working with a team and you're sharing files, like right now, Dorina needed to share the file with me. Always remember, and I'm part of the team of the people that don't remember, but I found a way to remind myself. So I literally have a sticky note at the bottom of my iMac in which I have my checklist of things that I do when I create a document. And that's something that you should do as well, because what I'm talking about is, of course, to embed your images. This little question mark is there to remind us that we've not embedded the images. So now that I have the file, I don't have the original images available, and that's why it looks so pixelated, because I don't have the original. While if you embed your file, and I'm going to show you how to do it in just a second, you will be able to share the document, and the image will be part of the document, part of the file itself. So you can share it in a very practical way, and everything is going to be right on point. And if I perhaps needed to send it to print, the images will look nice and sharp. So in order to embed your file, all you have to do is to head to the window menu and select links in order to bring up the links panel. And as you can see here, we still have this question mark because it says that the file is missing. You can double click to relink it, you can swap the file, but the main thing that I was talking about is to embed. In order to embed the file, you'll select one or multiple files and then click on this flyout menu. And of course, right now the embed link is turned off because we don't have the original file, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to use any other image. I'm just gonna bring in this image from I believe it was Malini that sent this lovely invitation. And again, I'm just using this as an example. Over here, ooh, it looks like the image is quite big. So let's do it in a little bit neater way. I'm gonna use the rectangle frame tool in order to create a frame where we can now place the image to make sure that it's nice and contained into the space of your choice. I'm gonna use the shortcut Shift Option Command E to resize it. Here it is, so we can see it. But most importantly, once we head to our links panel, you see that there is no question mark because we have the actual image inside the document. The original image is linked. If we select it and now head to the flyout menu, we can click on embed link. And you can see now we have this, it's almost like a same icon that we can find on a smart object in Photoshop that let us know that the image is now embedded. And if I share the document with anyone, with Jesús, if I send it back to Dorina, she'll have the full resolution original image attached to the document. And before I pass to Jesús to talk about Photoshop, I'm going to take one more minute to actually zoom in on the issue that Dorina was having. Dorina, don't worry. As I said, I always forget about it because I can say that she said that it's something for me to remember. Use a post-it, very useful. I used to write it on my hand when I was in college, but post-it are much cleaner way to remember that. So the issue that Dorina was having here was the fact that all these images contain a bleed. And as you can see, I'm going to move one of the images on the side. And what happens when you're working with facing pages, one of the bleed overlaps the other image. So there are two ways in which you can solve that. One, very simply zoom in and zoom in very, very close to the middle margin. Make sure to use your selection tool, which is the top black arrow located at the very top of the toolbar, or simply press the letter V on your keyboard in order to access the selection tool. And then select your image frame, which is now sitting on the top of the margin and above the other image. And all you have to do is very simple. You just click on the little side bounding box of the image and move and shrink the bounding box and just apply to the actual margin. By doing so, we're going to limit the margin and the size of the image to the actual margin itself. So it's not going to have any overlapping, and it's not going to export on the other pages when we send it to the printer. Another way, which is perhaps a little bit neater, just so you can make sure that you have a bleed all over the page, is to head to the flyout menu, and I'm just going to press Command Z to undo what I've done. So this one was pretty simple. Just shrink the frame. The image doesn't get resized. You're just resizing the actual frame tool that contains the image. Or head to the Pages panel if you don't see it on your workspace, as every other panel lives under the Window menu on the top bar. And once you find your Pages menu, click on the Flyout menu and then deselect Allow Document Page to Shuffle. And then do the same here. And now you will be able simply to move the page on the side, so you have two separate pages sitting, and they're still going to be sent to the printer, and they're still going to be facing pages on the final product. But when they get printed, you can send it to the actual printer with the full bleed. That, as you can see, the image is now standalone, the page is a standalone, so it can just be right away sent to the printer. You don't have any issue, any fear if the image is going to overlap the other one. So it's going to be much clearer for the printer to understand how to deal with your file. And that was it. So I think it's time to jump into Photoshop, and then we're going to probably see each other into Illustrator once again. Before we close InDesign, I just wanted to remind everybody of a book which a friend of ours wrote regarding InDesign. Jesus, do you have the link, by the way, by any chance?
I can find it in just a second. Give me a moment.
Yes, so I can keep InDesign open here. So our amazing friend is called Dave Clayton, and has written a book which is, I believe, called How To in InDesign. And
how do I do that in InDesign?
How do I do that in InDesign? And we're going to show you in just a second. And that's like really my go-to whenever I have a question on how to solve problems in InDesign. I love it because it's just got like how to do and then one simple action, so you can just quickly pull out whatever you need to do in very extremely fast way. And that's very good for beginners, so you can learn step by step. But it's also good for professional and people that know how to use the app, because it's a great way to remind you. And Susan, I'm going to jump to your screen.
I just placed the link. Yeah, go ahead. I just placed the link in the chat, but this is the book that you were talking about. How do I do that in InDesign? And the cool thing about the book is that basically each page is like one tip. So it's a pretty easy read, and it's all about doing things in InDesign.
Yes, fantastic. Cool. Jesus, you summarized it so much better than me. Thank you so much. Right, and we are on your screen, so feel free to jump.
We're on my screen.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm actually going to start in Illustrator for just a quick second, and this is and I'm sorry, do you have the artist's name for this image?
I'm going to dig it out and send it and open it up.
And okay, great. So while you do that, I'll just talk a little bit about it. So as you can see, the image here was placed into Illustrator, but it was edited. It looks like it was edited in Photoshop, and the background was removed, but the masking wasn't very good. So if you wanted to go back and make edits to this image, you wouldn't be able to, just because of the workflow of how this image was put in. So what Kladi and I are going to do now is just do like a very simple example of how to better optimize this workflow. In other words, I'm going to start in Photoshop. I'm going to use a similar image, and I'm going to mask it, place it in the library, and then Kladi will take over from there and then work on it in Illustrator. But the point is that it's much better if you do, I'm assuming they did the masking in Photoshop, but I don't think it was brought in through a library, just because I don't see that it's linked. And that wouldn't be a useful workflow, because if we wanted to edit the file in Photoshop, we would either have to go and find the file in Photoshop somewhere if we still have it, or then export this and then use this in Photoshop. But then since we don't have the mask, we wouldn't be able to really edit it. Also, notice that the masking here on the hair wasn't done properly. So maybe I can show a couple tips on how to do the masking. So let me bring up Photoshop. And actually, before I do that, the window that I had here with the book is the window where I had the chat open. So let me switch it over into my other monitor so that I can see the chat in case anything comes up. And I know that you'll let me know.
Absolutely. For now, with just so many amazing people saying hello. Sean, Michelle, Umakan, Biola. Biola has already bought the book. And by the way, Tim has also digged out a free PDF sample of the book and a discount code. Tim, you are a star.
Tim. Fantastic, Tim. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do now is just I have a lot of images here in the library, and I'm just going to look for one that's somewhat similar to the image that we are working with in Illustrator. And let me scroll down and just find, I had one in mind and I should have just saved it, but I don't see it. And I thought, oh, this is going to be easy to find. There it is. This one here, just because I didn't want it to be like a very simple image with like, an easy background. So I wanted to do something a little more challenging. And basically the workflow will be to start in Photoshop and then take it into Illustrator through a library. Again, I can't use the file that the artist submitted because, or the image at least, because I don't really have the background because it was deleted. So again, working non-destructively is a very good thing. Also, I should mention, you probably have noticed that my UI interface in Photoshop is, it has this magenta color.
It's cool.
Yeah. I actually posted a brand new video on my YouTube channel this morning, right before this session started actually, called How to Customize the Photoshop Interface in Photoshop. So let me show you what that looks like in case you're interested, and you can maybe watch it after the stream. It's only a short video. Here it is. It's the YouTube channel is Photoshop Training Channel, How to Customize the Photoshop Interface Colors. You can come and check it out and see how I customize the interface. But
who's that fella there?
Yeah, who is that? But anyway, so that's why this looks magenta. And
you can change it into any color, Jesús?
Any color that you want. And the cool thing about it is that you can customize specific elements. So maybe you only want for example, the layer highlight to be a specific color, then you can do that and then leave everything else as default. So totally up to you how you customize that. So if you're interested, make sure that you check out the link in the chat. Oh yeah, thank you so much, Tim. Tim just posted a link to my YouTube channel in the chat. Photoshop Training Channel is the video that just came out this morning. But anyway.
So sorry, before we start, do you know if it's possible to do it with other apps as well?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh. Sorry, I just wanted to know, because I think it's such a cool thing to do.
Yeah, and you don't have to watch it now, but just make sure you save it and then watch it after Adobe Live tonight. Just watch it. But anyway, so we're gonna work on this file, and I usually like starting something like this. I usually probably will go into select and mask right off the bat. The AI is really intelligent these days, so I can click on select subject right up here, and Photoshop will analyze the image and remove the background. It does a really good job. By the way, by default, you'll be in the onion skinning mode. If you change the overlay to something else, then you might see something different. But I'm on the overlay view with 50%. This means that anything that is not selected will be viewed at 50% opacity, and things that are selected will be viewed at 100% opacity. So in this case, Photoshop did a fantastic job. Then after that, I like going into the black and white view just to make sure that my edges look okay. In this case, the edges around her body are pretty good. What I'm going to do now is focus on her body and then her hair. And what that means is that I'm going to go into the global refinement sliders, and from here adjust the smoothing so I can smooth these edges, and also increase the contrast so I can sharpen those edges. But notice that completely destroys the hair, and that's okay. I'm not worried about the hair for right now. So I'm going to go back into the onion skinning mode, and that's my result. I'm going to press OK, but before I do, I need to make sure that I'm outputting to a layer mask. So I'll press OK, and there's my mask. Now, the reason that I'm doing the edges for her body and her hair in separate steps is because the edges are vastly different. So if I do a global refinement on the edges that will fix her body, as you saw, it will completely destroy the hair. So I just completely disregard the hair in the first step, come back, and then work on the hair in the second step. To do so, I'm going to select the layer mask, go into the properties panel, and then go back into select and mask. And what I'm going to do now is in older versions, like if you're in Photoshop CS6 or something like that, what you want to do is select the refine edge tool and then click and drag around the edges so that Photoshop can refine those edges and mask the hair out. If you're in a new version of Photoshop, Photoshop 2021 to be exact, we have this new refine hair button that does the same thing. It's exactly the same thing, but it does it automatically. And let me actually show you what I mean by that. If I click on show edge, you can see that when I paint with the refine edge tool, the edge where Photoshop is analyzing the image to create that separation between the hair and the background. If I click on refine hair, Photoshop will use AI to find the hair and it automatically paints it for me. See that? See how it found the hair? And if there's areas that you didn't like, that it painted over that you didn't want, you can select the minus brush here and then just paint those away. But in this case, I think it did a good job. So there it is. And I can now press OK. And that looks much, much better. Now, this is not a perfect selection by any means. When you have flyaway hair like that on a busy background, it's going to be very, very difficult to get right. There's a couple of things that you can do to improve it. Number one is you can create a new layer, clip it to the layer below. So you can do so by actually 3 ways you can do, or how many ways? 2 ways, 3 ways? 2 ways for sure that you can do this by holding Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac in between 2 layers, and then you can click to clip, or Control Alt G on Windows, Command Option G on the Mac. There's a third way with a layer mask. If you have a layer mask, you can click on this icon here in the properties panel. But anyway, with a layer, just 2 ways. And with this layer clipped to the layer below, I can paint over my image. So I'm just going to select the color already found on her hair, and I'm just going to paint just to darken some of these hair strands, like so. And obviously I'm going quickly here, but I think that you get the idea. So the clipping mask is containing my brush stroke to just the visible pixels. So I can't paint over the lines. I'm just painting within the selected person or the hair. So there it is, before and after. Another thing that I would recommend, and actually this might take a couple minutes, but what I could do is go into, I have another photo here that I'm going to use as reference. We have this young woman here, and her hair looks fantastic, and I'm going to use it to create a brush so that I can paint over her hair. And the way that I would do that is simply by cropping the image like so, right about here, and then going into the channels panel and do a channel pull. I'm going to use the channels to create my selection here. So I'm just going to go into the channel that has the most contrast between the foreground and the background, in this case, the blue channel, so I can duplicate the layer. Then I can use any method that I want to make the hair completely black and the background completely white. So image adjustment levels might be a good way, and I can just crunch the whites there so the background is white, and then bring in the midpoint to make those hair strands darker. Also, this is not really completely white down here, so I can select the dodge tool, and from the options bar, I can select highlights and then just paint on the highlights here to make them as white as possible, like so. And I think that this is looking pretty good. Now, I'm going to invert my selection or my channel here by pressing Control I on Windows, Command I on the Mac. Then I'm going to hold Control and click on the channel thumbnail to load it as a selection. Then I'm going to create a brand new solid fill color, and I'm going to make it black, like so. And maybe, you know what, maybe I'll duplicate it just so that I can have it be darker, just like that. And what I'll do now is go into Edit, Define Brush Preset, and then I'll get this window here, and I can just give it a name, Hair, for example. I'll press OK, and now if I go into the brush tool, you can see that at the very bottom, if I did it correctly, I'll have my hairbrush. And what that will allow me to do is, I'll just make a layer of white and paint with black so you can see what this is going to do. That will allow me to paint in hair like so. See that? I can now paint with hair. It's super, super cool. So what that will allow me to do now is, and let me just make a solid color background so you can see what's going on here. What that will allow me to do now is these difficult to select hairs, I can just get rid of them because it'll be extremely, extremely difficult to select them. So I can just quickly paint those away by using the brush tool with black. And I'm going to be a little sloppy here just because of time. We still got to get to Illustrator. Let me just paint these away like so. And I think you get the idea, but you know, something like that. Just paint away the ones that are just way too difficult to select. And what you want to do now is with this brush, go into the hair here, the hairbrush that I just made, create a brand new layer, select the color similar to her hair, and paint. Whoops, that's way too big. Let me resize that so that it matches the flow of her hair here. And look at the difference here. The hair's going the wrong way. So what I can do here is go into my brush tool settings here, my brush settings, and just flip it in the X axis like so. And when I paint, it's on the right side. So now with the arrow keys, left and right arrow keys on the keyboard in Photoshop 2020, I believe, you can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, we got the ability to rotate the brush by using the arrow keys. See how the brush is rotating? So if you're in an older version of Photoshop, what you have to do is click on this icon and then just rotate it from this icon here. But in newer versions of Photoshop, you can just use the arrow key on the keyboard and it rotates. So what I'll do is I'll try to match it as best as I can. It probably won't be perfect, and that's okay. But you know, try to get it as close as you can. Maybe something like, and it's not really letting me do it the way that I want. Maybe something like this. But anyway, that looks okay. And actually, I want this below hair. See that? See how now we're starting to get some detail on the hair there, and I can select different colors so it's not painting the same color over and over again. You know, something like that, and then just keep fine-tuning it accordingly. When you're done, you can just create a layer mask and paint with black on the areas that you don't want Photoshop to reveal. So like this area up here doesn't look very good, so I can paint that away, and everything else is looking pretty good. You could also select this layer and transform it. So I'm gonna go and press Control T on Windows, Command T on the Mac to transform, and I can warp it. And what I'll probably do is create, let me think about this, probably create a split like right here in the middle, and then just move these over like so. See that? And I can just fix them so that they look like it's really part of her hair, like so. And yeah, you can see the before and the after. This is much better than trying to like really select the hair, because it'll be extremely difficult in a background like this. Her hair is blonde, there's a lot of things going on, so it's super hard to select. And I think I think you already answered the question, Kladi, in the chat about my interface. Yes, you can change the interface colors. I placed a video on my YouTube channel today on how to do that. But yeah, so let me think. Oh yeah, the next thing I wanted to mention about this is that in this case, it's probably really not necessary, but in some cases you might have a lot of depth of field in your image. So you might need to blur it. You can, you know, use the blur tool if you wanted to. Where's the blur tool? It's under the, right here, blur tool. And then you can just blur areas of the hair that are out of focus. In this case, everything's in focus, but assuming that this area was out of focus, you can just, you know, blur that and the hair will be out of focus. Again, depending on the depth of field of the image that you're working with. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that. Great. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat, Kladi. Oh, we have Kathleen in the chat. Hey, Kathleen, how's it going? Good to see you.
Kathleen will be just after us with the Photoshop challenge coming up, besides all the amazing lineup of streams that are here on Adobe Live. Just after us, we have Kathleen, and then there is a graphic design stream, and then I believe Paul Trani with the Illustrator challenge, more graphic design stream, or I believe it's Photoshop, and then there is our Pinsky with the third challenge of the day. And I believe there is much more with Kyle Webster, and you can see all these amazing lineup and the schedule just right below us. But make sure not to miss Kathleen coming next. I love her. First of all, I love her soothing voice. I always tell her that, like, I find her challenges so relaxing, and like every time that I work, Kathleen, I just have you there in the background. I could hear your voice all day because I just find like a very good way for me to concentrate as well. So make sure to stay tuned just right after us so you can keep working in Photoshop with Kathleen. And I
Awesome.
love
Yeah,
that everyone is
definitely.
say
Always.
hello.
Yeah, actually, just noticed in the chat, Tim had a really good tip. So earlier I mentioned that you can rotate the brush by holding the arrow keys on the keyboard. And as Tim reminded me, you can also hold Shift and the arrow keys and you rotate much faster. So thank you for the tip in the chat. And thank you for the ABC Banana Crew. So we're going to be the ABC Banana Crew, and maybe we can incorporate some color into the UI. Maybe I should have made it yellow to match the banana theme. I didn't think about that. but definitely. Anyway,
Next
so
time.
once you have all this, created, what you can do is you can put it all into a smart object, and once it's a smart object, you can treat it as a single image. For example, you can go into filter, camera raw filter, and apply any other things that you want into this image. For example, maybe adjust the contrast, the shadows, all that good stuff. Increase the texture just to make her hair stand out a little bit more. Maybe you can also add a little bit of sharpening. Here's the sharpening trick. If you hold Alt and Windows option on the Mac and click and drag on the masking slider, Photoshop will start finding the edges on the image. By default, it applies the sharpening effect to the entire image. Sometimes you may not want to do that. So you might want to just drag this to the right and only apply the effect to the edges. So anything that is in black will not have the sharpening effect applied to it. So something like that. And you can keep adjusting the color mixer, maybe adjust her skin tones if they're not looking good. In this case, I think her skin tones are looking okay. But the point is now that we have our image, you can see the difference here that it made by making that adjustment. It also helps by sharpening the image and bringing out the texture. The hair that we painted in looks a little better. But anyway, the point is that we can now go into our Creative Cloud library, and there it is, rework it, and I can drag this in there. And actually I should give it a name. So I'll just call it, I'll call it main person.
And by the way, Sue, sorry to interrupt you there, but Tim and Sean were mentioning Maddie, and the fact that if she learns about the color, she's gonna be go crazy on it.
Maddie.
So I'm actually gonna message her, see if she can join us right now and see these colors in action. So I just wanted to be able to see if we can get her to join here.
Oh my God, Maddie! Yeah, Maddie's gonna make it all kinds of colors. I can't even wait to see what Maddie does. Yeah, Maddie's with Adobe. I don't know what team Maddie is in. Maybe Tim knows what team at Adobe Maddie is in. But Maddie's a really close friend of ours. And
she's always on
she's
Adobe Live now. She's always on Adobe Live in UK. Everybody knows Maddie.
Everybody knows Maddie. Well, I just want to say I knew her first. No. Oh wow! It says Banana Crew. Okay, this is so funny. So Umacorn said Jesus and his Banana Crew, Howard with his Boot Squad, and Evan Abrams with the A Team. I just want to say that the Banana Crew is probably the best. That is just my unbiased opinion. No, I'm just kidding. But oh yeah, that's right, Viola. The first rule about Banana Crew is you do not talk about the Banana Crew. Second rule of Banana Crew is you do not talk about the Banana Crew. And the third rule of the Banana Crew is if this is your first time watching Adobe Live, you must add a banana to your toolbar.
And you need to show us real quick how to do that, because not everybody knows to do that.
How to do it? Well, you have to know the secret handshake. You have to click on, usually in Photoshop, you'll see the 3-dot icon here. You can click on that, go into the edit toolbar options, and then this comes up. It came up on my other window, but I just dragged it over. And you can hold Shift and click on Done, and that will add a banana to your toolbar. And it'll appear there. Shift and click on Done. Simple as that.
And I just wanted to, are you going to take a Mia question?
What was Mia's question?
If we can rework a project that was supposed to be a motion animation in Photoshop, but didn't actually work out.
Sure, Mia, send it in as a PSD and we'll take a look at it. And I don't know if it'll be like the short answer is we can give it a try. Depending on what the issue is, and if I could, maybe help you solve the issue, then sure. Send it in, and if not, maybe we can work through the issues together in the stream. We'll see.
So Maddie said that she's on a call, but in 10 minutes she's going to try to join us.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
So the image is now in the libraries, and I don't know if you want to take over in Illustrator, Kladi, or...
Yeah,
Did you get?
absolutely. Absolutely. So I was actually gonna share my email as well, just if people want to send. Do you think is a good idea? If just to get a direct WeTransfer or maybe like a Dropbox file for an animation file.
Well, if you don't want to share your email, what you can do is you can share your Dropbox link, WeTransfer. I guess you need your email for a WeTransfer, right?
Yeah, or maybe let's just can you just show us the form again, Jesus? Because I think that we show the page, but if we go through the form real quick, just so we make sure that everybody knows
So
how to do that.
the way that you would submit is by going into iamcladi.com/rework it, and then click on submit your design. And all you have to do is just fill out the form. Very simple. Email, add your files. Try to add a PSD, AI, or InDesign files. And if the file type is too, or the file itself, the art is too big, that the form won't take it, you can just also include in the message down here, like obviously your question, but maybe a link to Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that. And then that way we can also have the editable files. Sometimes we receive files that are PSDs, but the image is flattened. So make sure that the file that you submit is editable. So just because it's a Photoshop file doesn't mean we can work with it if it's flattened. So we've received a couple of Photoshop files where the layers are gone and the person flattened the image into one single layer, so that we wouldn't really be able to use that in the stream. So make sure that you send us the editable files. And like I said, all you have to do is add your email, submit the file, your name, your Behance profile, because we want to share it while we do the stream, data consent agreement, and let us know which apps you used. Even if you use more, that's okay. Just let us know the ones from the list, and then maybe let us know in the comment what other apps you use if you think it's relevant. And of course, click on the submit button. And that's pretty much it. It's very simple. Again, iamcladi.com/rework it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jesus. I'm going to jump into my screen real quick for two things. First of all, the artist that we were just featuring right now with the image, and that's where Jesus took the idea of changing the image. And sorry, I'm getting distracted because I can see my mom. Sean, that's my mom. But it's true, my mom and my dad both name starts with the same letter, with the letter G. Julie is my mommy, Guido is my dad. But like, yeah, close enough.
I'm gonna get the moderators to kick off your mom off the stream again.
Hey, she's speaking in English. Oh no, she's saying Italian. What did she say? Oh no, Italian. Of course she's messaging in Italian. Michelle, it doesn't matter if the files are from old versions of Photoshop. They should be absolutely fine. Asus, I don't know if that's if that will cause an issue.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What was the question?
Michelle, I believe. I just want to make sure that I'm naming the right person. Said if Michelle was asking if it's okay if the file was created with an older version of Photoshop.
Yeah, no problem. Any version of Photoshop should be fine. The only downside, if you submit an old version of Photoshop, depending on the version that it is, you may not have some of the newer tools when we rework it on the stream, and that may be a drawback for you. But in terms of us working with the file, it wouldn't be a problem if it's an older version of Photoshop.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sus. And here we have, as I mentioned, Zaf Francitor, which is the person that submitted the Illustrator file which contained the image. And also, I believe, Ferry, or I just want to see who said it in the past if I can. Umacorn was mentioning, Sus, that the actual image that was used is a singer called Kim Taeyeon. Totally mispronouncing her. So I was trying hard to find that image, and I think that I found like a photo from the same photo shoot because she seems like she's wearing the same clothes, the clothing, but I couldn't find exactly the photo because I thought that would be nice.
Don't worry about it. Use the one that we use for legal purposes. We can't share.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's very, very clever. And just to show you what happened there. So I probably should have showed the library before. So I have the same file opened. In this case, I'm working in Illustrator, but as you can see, the file that Jesus has edited and put in the library is right there ready for me to use. So in this case, Zaf, I just want to make sure that the name, Zaf, and by the way, go and check him out. He's a student from Kuala Lumpur, and we have the little logo and there is a full process of designing the logo inside the Behance page. So go and check his work out. Has done the wonderful thing that I was talking about before. So as much as we did in InDesign, if we had to Illustrator and head to the window menu and then select links, you'll be able to embed your images and your files there. So as you can see, we have the famous icon that I was mentioning before, which is the same icon that it was there in InDesign once we embedded the file, and that's what Zeph has done. So again, just simply select your file, go to the drop out menu on the top, and in this case is, you know, the option is to unembed it because it's already embedded. So very nice done. And as you can see, I had the file directly there, and Zeph didn't send me 2 files, just send me the Illustrator file, but he had the image embedded right away. So that's a very good way of keeping all the file organized, and is exactly the same process. Place your file, window, links, right click on the top of the menu, and make sure that you embed link file.
There's a lot of talk in the chat that you have Mia's Behance profile open in your tabs, and apparently
because I sent her a message. Check everyone. You guys are stalking me.
Kladi's a stalker. She's looking at everybody's Behance profiles in the chat. That when I'm working, that's what she's doing, going through every single person's Behance profile.
Mia, I just sent a message. I was just a little bit afraid that the animation file, the PSD, would have been a little bit heavy. So I just sent you a message with a suggestion on how to provide the file for us. So if you check your Behance, you actually find a message from me. So it's all positive. And I'm just trying to help. So let's keep going, and let's try to help this project in order to rework it. That's so funny.
Your mom wrote in the chat, yes, I'm Kladi's mama.
Oh my God. That's so funny. Right, I think I should just say ciao mama since he's there. I feel like the kids that are like on a school show and they're like, oh my God, my parents are in the audience.
when you tell your parents to drop you off like 5 blocks away from school so the kids don't see you, show up with your parents.
Unfortunately,
has anyone done? I did that one time and I felt so bad. Has anybody done that? That I told my mom, I was like in 6th grade, and I was like, Mom, just drop me off here. You don't have to go all the way to the school.
I think that's more like of a boy thing. I don't know, but I was a bit of like of a tomboy when going in school, and I was actually pretty excited because my dad was a rally driver, so I used to like drive sports car, like for racing sports car, and that's when I was like young, and I was so excited because he would show up with this like loud racing cars at the school. So of course all the boys wanted to have like, you know, a ride, or everyone wanted to get on the same ride on. So I was just like, hey, that's my ride. That's actually like a probably the opposite way, but it was just because of the car. The car was like loud and whatever. I think that when you're young, that's, you know, exciting of some sort.
If my mom had a race car and she like came into school like she was in the Fast and the Furious, then maybe I would have her driven me into the classroom.
Also, Susie, I experienced my dad driving.
Yeah, her dad drives like Jason Bourne is being chased by Interpol through Italy. It's crazy.
Let's say that Susie didn't enjoy it too much. Anyway,
the streets are so narrow and he drives so fast.
All right, so I love to hear your stories. So, you know, if you want to share, we're being a little silly here, but if you want to share your stories there, will be super ace to see, you know, what was your approach to parents in school. I've got my mom here, and that was the purpose of this conversation. But let's keep going here. So as we can see, good job to Zeph. And good job to Zeph, and sorry, I keep giggling because he has embedded the file inside the image. Although I would like to give a few advices regarding the file without getting too sidetracked again. One of them is right away I was trying to figure it out what sort of drop shadow was there in the image, because it looks like, you know, you have your white artboard and then you have the image there, and then there is a drop shadow and a line, and it almost looks like there is like a drop shadow on one side. So I'm just wondering what sort of appearance were there. But what I've done is to, in order to understand how the file was built, because of course it's not a file that I've created, I went into the window panel and I've selected the appearance panel in order to, select each different items. And I was trying to figure out if any of these items had a drop shadow or a stroke. Well, if I moved this rectangle, which it didn't have a stroke, and I was really wondering what happened there. Then I realized that that's not a shape. What happened, and the way that I realized it is simply by clicking on the artboard tool at the bottom of my toolbar. And as you can see, this is simply an effect that happens when we have an artboard. So usually an artboard is sitting on a grayer and a darker pasteboard, so you don't really see it. But an artboard on top of an artboard create this sort of framing effect, which is really cool. But I want to show you how to create it independently than having these, double artboard nesting, because that can be dangerous when you share a file. So the first thing that I will do here is perhaps click on the first artboard and then press on delete in order to delete it. And as you can see, we just get left with the artboard that contains the artwork, which is again a little bit neater in terms of way of working, because it was otherwise confusing. Or if you want, we can actually delete the inside one. And again, look what I'm doing, just selecting the artboard tool and then clicking inside the artboard, and you can see that there is a blue outline that tells me with almost like marching ends, which tell me which artboard I've selected, and simply click on delete if you want to delete the artboard. Oops, here it is. So it looks like there are objects that are locked, but we'll still be able to delete it here. If you find any object that is locked, all you have to do is to select your layers panel, and you'll be able to go ahead and have a little bit of a look in here. Layers are not super organized. So as you can see, I really had to go and open them up. So again, maybe Zeph, you're very organized with the way that you use your image, but I will strongly recommend to do a little bit of a better job in terms of naming your layers, because that would be much more useful. Before doing that though, I just see the times and I cannot believe time goes too fast. Here I wanted to change the image, because the entire purpose of all the artwork that Jesús has done was to provide us with an image that was cleaned up. And again, this is just for a purpose of workflow. We know that that's not the same singer, which is probably on the top 100 song, but I just want to show you how to replace the image here. So all you have to do is to select the photo that was embedded inside your file. And then if you click on this first icon at the bottom of the links panel, which again you can find under the window menu at the top, you can just find this first icon, which is a relink from a Creative Cloud library. So we have both the little chain link, which is usually the icon used to represent linking, and then we have the libraries also showing there. So if you click on that relink from library, you'll be able to select the image that you want to relink it from. And if you select it, it should be able to right away bring it in. Oops, looks like I've double clicked on it. So we have Photoshop opening right now. Well, that's super cool, because I just, that's probably another way of showing how to open the image over here. Let me see if I unembed the file and try to do this again. Anyway, at the moment it's not working. It is opening the image inside Photoshop. Is probably, again, that's the beauty of working with other people files. There might be other little hidden reason why it's not working, but we can move it on the side. And again, another way, because Jesús has neatly put it into the same library, is simply to click and drag and bring the image that Jesús has edited inside. And look how beautiful the image looks with the proper masking done. So you can see the lovely hair coming through, and it definitely is a much better job here. Now, if I just want to show the top part of the image, pretty much to keep the same sort of cut that it was into the original file, all you have to do is to click on the background layer, press Command C, and then Command F in order to paste it on top. I was going to say Command J as if I was working on a Photoshop file. And now that I have a duplicate of the background, which is the correct size of the actual image, and then the image, all I have to do is to use the shortcut Command Shift right bracket in order to bring it on the top, and use the Command Shift left bracket probably I think it's I've done something to my shortcut, because it's not working unless it's the layers. I'm just gonna select both of these elements and create a new layers, and just press Command C to copy, and then head to the new layer that I created, and Command F to make sure that I actually copy it in the right layers, because what I'm trying to do here is to have the object that is on top of the image, just like so. Again, it was a little bit confusing with the layers, so I needed to create a new layer in order to make sure that I was able to access the right stack. And remember, order of the layer always matter, because everything that is on top is going to show above all the other objects. So again, click on the image, hold Shift, click on the square, and simply press on Command 7 in order to mask the image. So we have all the other side of the image that we don't need, which is hidden and is masked under the area, which is the actual area of the image itself. Now, I know that we got 1 minute, but just real quick, I wanted to show you how to create that drop shadow effect. It's super, super easy. I'm just going to create another rectangle, and to show you, and probably another artboard as well, so we can actually see that taking place. You can actually create this effect simply by heading to the appearance panel, which you can find under menu, and from here you'll find an effects icon, which is just at the bottom, and under stylize, which are part of the Illustrator effect, you find a drop shadow. You can use the opacity, offset. I like to keep it nice and neat, so maybe use just simply 1 millimeter, and then maybe 30%, so it's just barely visible, and it's just there. I like to work with a little bit of a minimal effect, and then click on OK, and then give it a stroke. This case, we're going to select a black stroke of 1 millimeter as well, or maybe see if we can do with a 0.25. And this is just to create the effect that our board was giving. So we have a stroke, and we have the drop shadow as well, which I think that's what Zeph was trying to achieve by layering one artboard on top of the other. So that's something that you can do pretty much with any object inside Adobe Illustrator. Remember, the appearance panel and then Illustrator effects. I think we got 30 seconds to go. It's time to say goodbye.
Wow, already.
Yes.
It went by fast yesterday and today.
Absolutely. I was laughing so bad because I also saw that my dad joined the chat when we were talking, so that's why I got so sidetracked.
Everyone's talking about how Italians drive, and was it Steve? Steve said Italian driving is very effective to keep pedestrians off the road. And then somebody made a comment. Who was it? Christine. Christine wrote, it's like the Italian Job, the movie. I think Mark Wahlberg's in it. They're driving those Mini Coopers, and they're driving really fast, a lot like Baby Driver. Yep. That's how I felt when I was in the car with your dad, because I mean, the streets are literally this narrow. And I mean, he's an excellent driver, but he's going way too fast on those little streets.
And by the way, sorry, I'm just going to go back into my screen again. I just want to remind everybody, if you go ahead and check my Instagram, I've just published on my link tree on the bio the Adobe Max playlist. So if you click on there, you'll find a little link that will take you to the Adobe Max playlist, which allow you to see mine and other Adobe Max instructor videos. Of course, that's the wrong link, on YouTube for free. So go and check it out. There is a full replay available on YouTube with me, Mark Heaps, and other amazing instructor. I just want to make sure to give it a shot because I was very, very excited when I found out that happened. You can find many other courses there, many other free resources. But thank you so much, Jesús. Thank you so much, everybody. RB, General, Sean, Steve, team. Those are the only one that I'm seeing. Bila. Thank you so much.
I just posted a link to the video on how to change the color interface in Photoshop. If you're interested, it's in the chat. If not, check out my YouTube channel, Photoshop Training Channel. But thank you, everybody, so much. We'll see you in 2 weeks, right, Kladi? We'll be back in 2 weeks?
Yes, absolutely. And submit your work. Submit.
Submit your work. iamkladi.com/rework it. Thanks so much,
Stay tuned
everybody.
for Kathleen and much more amazing content here.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.